Welcome to U.S. News Source Channel. Intensity of the operations on the southern front has increased. Russia started to suffer heavy losses in the south again. It has been reported that a critical island in the Kherson region has been retaken by Ukraine. Operations began to yield results in favor of Ukraine. Explosions occurred one after another in the key area in the south. Great preparations have begun on the front. In a short time, 500 Russian soldiers were neutralized even on a single front. Ukrainian Air Force hit 13 important Russian military points. Russia carried out 35 air strikes. It has become much more difficult to achieve success in attacks now. Ukrainian troops continue to prove their superior success on the fronts to the whole world. Valery Zaluzhnyi, Commander-in-Chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, made important statements about the war. Violence of the war is now escalating on many fronts. Ukrainian armed forces have launched operations in Kherson, the key southern region, in recent weeks. As a result of these operations, this region was again under the control of Ukrainian troops. Russian troops then retreating from the area advanced either around the Dnipro River, into Cyprus, or to the east. However, the Russian troops, who faced the Ukrainian army on these fronts, began to have more difficulties on many fronts. While intense conflicts have increased in the east, operations are starting again in the south this time. Ukrainian armed forces started new operations in Kherson in the evening. Then, according to the breaking news, Velikiy, located on the front and on the right and left banks of the Dnipro River, took back the island of Potomkin and saved it. Ukrainian flags were hung in the region. It is known that this island came under the control of Russian forces on December 15. However, the Ukrainian troops managed to retake the area by launching new operations for this island at the first opportunity. Russian soldiers in the region have been driven out of the region for a while. At the same time, it was announced that gunshots and explosions were heard around Skadovsk in the south of the Kherson region. Although it is known that there are explosion sounds, no explanation and confirmation has yet been made on this subject. Although there have been previous statements that the Ukrainian armed forces are ready to attack the Kherson region, it is not yet known whether these explosions were caused by the Ukrainian army or even caused by other circumstances. However, a surprising fact is that the Skadovsk region is located 60 kilometers further from the nearest area under the control of Ukrainian troops. This shows that the Ukrainian army has advanced considerably on the front and has increased its range. Moreover, this region is on the opposite coast of Crimea and is close to the Crimean territory. This increases tensions in Russia. Because if the Ukrainian army gains dominance in this region, Russian military points in the Crimean territory will be able to enter the range more easily. This may lead to the launch of operations to retake Crimea. For this reason, it was reported that the Russian troops began to gather their forces again in Kherson. Distributing its soldiers to the fronts, Russia is trying to gather it in this region again. However, this effort is in vain. Because the Ukrainian forces have launched strong operations in this region in recent days. As a result of these operations, in just a few days, around 500 Russian soldiers were neutralized in the Kolanivka and Fedorivka regions. As a result of the operations launched against Russian military points, Russia continues to inflict heavy losses on both its soldiers and equipment. This situation increases the tension on the Moscow side even more. This makes it more difficult to compensate for losses. Moreover, it is known that a great advantage will be gained in the south if dominance is achieved in this Kherson region. As it is known, this region, located on the border of Crimea and bordering the Black Sea waters, is one of the most important regions for both countries. This leads to an increase in violence in mutual attacks on the front. Because if the Ukrainian army maintains its dominance in this region, it will be more possible to increase the moves towards Crimea. To remind you, although Russia gained dominance in Crimea years ago, Ukraine has sworn to take back the region. In fact, in recent months, the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, with his statements about the war, declared that they would do everything to get Crimea back. Moreover, he stated that if this was achieved, the war would come to an end. Subsequently, explosions occurred one after another at Russian military points in the territory of Crimea. Even though the attacks continue, it is not enough to take the region back. However, as long as the dominance in the south is maintained, it is estimated that larger operations can be prepared and attacks can be launched. Although the Russian soldiers took security measures in the region to prevent this from happening, it was seen many times that these did not work either. Operations on the territory of Ukraine are also being tried to be increased. Proving its superior success to the whole world in recent months, the Ukrainian Air Force has hit 13 regions where Russian forces are concentrated. Smoke rose from these hit points. Many Russian soldiers were neutralized. Ukraine's rocket and artillery units also announced that they hit 2 points where Russian forces and military equipment are located. However, Russia's attacks continue. It was stated that Russia also carried out 35 airstrikes, and this number included Iranian-made Shahid-136 unmanned aerial vehicles, all of which were shot down by the Ukrainian defense forces. As can be seen with these moves, Ukrainian troops now achieve 100% success in defense on the fronts. Ukraine, which was hit by its attacks, does not allow the attacks of the Russian army to reach the territory of the country in terms of defense. In this way, many military points and infrastructures are protected from possible damage. It is known that serious losses have already been suffered by Russia since the beginning of the war. This causes their ammunition to be wasted. Because although the Russian army uses expensive cruise missiles in its attacks, the ammunition is completely wasted when these attacks are prevented. Russia, which is currently dragged towards exhaustion in its military resources, no longer has a chance to make a strategic mistake. Despite this, it was announced that Russian troops, trying their last chance on many fronts, attacked the Kherson region 16 times using multiple launch rocket systems. It is known that Russia is also trying to improve its tactical positions on the Lyman, Avdiivka and Kupiansk fronts. It was announced that the Russian troops defended on the Zaporizhia and Novopavlivka fronts, continued the offensive on the Bakhmut front, and regrouped the troops on the Kherson front. Mutual attacks on all these important fronts are also becoming more important day by day. Moreover, it is known that the Ukrainian army has carried out record attacks in the east in recent days and the Russian army has suffered heavy losses. This causes the operations on the fronts to progress in favor of the Ukrainian army and to gain an advantage. At the same time, the Commander-in-Chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces Valery Zaluzhnyi shared information about the past year. The Commander-in-Chief of Ukraine reported that in 2022, the Ukrainian armed forces neutralized over 100,000 Russian forces and regained 40% of the areas under control after the attack. Zaluzhnyi stated that the year 2022 is a year that passed into world history for Ukraine and its armed forces. In addition, it was announced that the training of the Ukrainian armed forces is currently being carried out in 17 European countries. In general, he stated that over 20,000 Ukrainian military forces were trained. Valery Zaluzhnyi reported that the armed forces are fighting every day not only for Ukraine, but also for Europe, and they will definitely win. For this, if Ukraine is to be successful, the support to be sent should be increased more. This situation will determine the fate of the war with the depletion of Russia's military resources. If Russia continues its unsuccessful attacks on more infrastructures, it will have difficulty in achieving success on the fronts. For this, all kinds of moves are much more important. Now, every step taken and every decision made must be carried out in a completely strategic direction. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.